Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Today I'm heading back from another jiu-jitsu training, and got me thinking on a couple topics that I wanted to share my thoughts on. Some of it is kind of related to discouragement and, how to not get discouraged, and basically, how do you maintain a positive attitude. I think this relates to a lot of things. I think it relates very strongly to, activism and basically just like life in general, but especially if you're trying to, convince other people or have some kind of an agenda that you're pushing, that you're passionate about, like veganism. The thing is that, I've been training now for, about 6 weeks, I guess. And, I feel like, there's times when I'm in the class when I feel like, I haven't really gotten anywhere, I haven't learned anything, and it's been, a month and a half. But I can definitely, get over that little feeling of discouragement by looking at the incremental little things that do feel better. So, if nothing else, I feel like I'm getting a little bit stronger. I feel like I'm getting a little bit more flexible. I've been working on my stretching. There's definitely a few little basic things that I've learned, body positioning, some things, not to do. There's a couple of little things that I can feel like I sort of know how to get out of now. So there's like very little minuscule things, but they are there. And, and I think, especially with the gardening kind of stuff, I can relate this to the idea that, you don't get an amazing garden or an amazing food forest overnight. You need to really work on this stuff and get get time on your side and get things happening over time. So a tree is a great example. It doesn't bear fruit the first year. You got to plant it, especially if you're planting stuff from seed. It can take a long time. But even if you're doing like a grafted tree that's already 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, depending on what size you're getting, you're still looking at anywhere from like another 2 or 3 years usually before it starts producing fruit, and that kind of thing. So it takes time. You got to be patient and look for those little incremental things just to keep yourself positive and motivated, so that you do feel like you're getting along. And I can vouch that from even a music standpoint. There's a lot of times when you hit plateaus in your study and you feel like you're just getting nowhere. You can't even see incremental progress. You just feel like nothing is really getting better. And those are really kind of challenging times, because as long as you can still see that there's little progress, you're still feeling better than if you just feel like there's no progress. So for those times, I just think again, just realize that it's a long haul, that you're on a road, you're on a journey. The journey is the fun, and it's the point. There is no destination. You're always going to be learning. You're always going to be traveling. So just, maintain that focus and just don't worry about the next plateau. All of a sudden, one day, you're going to realize, oh shoot, I can play that thing that I, have been trying and couldn't do, and now all of a sudden I can hit the chord, I can hit the change, I can feel the groove, whatever it is, that little thing, it just feels good, and then you've got to that next little plateau. So, and how does this relate to activism and veganism? Well, the thing that I really wanted to talk about is that lately I've been getting a lot of I've been seeing a lot of stuff in comments and a lot of things in other people's videos, and on Twitter somebody started kind of I think they were trolling me honestly, but it felt like I kind of figured that out pretty early on. It was pretty obvious, and then I didn't really fall into the troll trap. But there's this kind of thing that a lot of people will use as an argument against veganism, sort of, which is this. It's an appeal to futility. It's basically that this you can never be fully vegan, so just why even bother trying? And the person that engaged with me on Twitter, they were basically just saying it's stupid to call anything vegan, and it's stupid to call yourself vegan, and it's stupid to advocate for veganism or the idea of vegan, because you can never attain it fully. And they were just saying the cell phone I'm using to tweet is got some kind of minuscule animal products in it. The truck that delivered it had some animal products in it, etc., etc. And this is again an appeal to futility fallacy. This is saying that, because there could be an accident while I'm driving now, and I could harm somebody even though it's not my fault, like my tire could blow up and my car could flip over or something, I could harm somebody, that somehow that would be the equivalent of just saying, well, screw it, I'm just going to intentionally run over pedestrians for the fun of it. It's not the same thing. And, it's like the fact that there are animal products in a lot of things, you do not go out and buy a phone thinking like, man, I really hope that like there's some animal products in here. You go out buying a phone because you need it, and again, you can argue like whether you really need it or not, but like you do not get it with the intention of harming animals. When you go out to buy a hamburger, you are fully aware that a cow has to be killed for that hamburger. There is no I don't really intend to harm an animal. Like you don't want it to suffer and feel pain and whatever, and you hope that it has like a humane death, whatever that means. But you ultimately know that you are killing an animal to get it into the burger. So it's again not the same thing. And just because you cannot get a phone or a car or something that doesn't have a little bit of animal products in it as an unintentional thing does not mean that is what you are paying for and that is what you are supporting. Whereas with the consumption of overt animal products, it is definitely something that you are fully kind of aware of and doing. So, long story short, my point is this. A lot of the animal products that you see in things are not the consequence of them needing to be in there. A lot of times they are a consequence of these animal agriculture industries trying to make money out of every single thing, including the waste byproducts of the industry. So in the case of cattle being dairy cows or what have you, or beef cattle being killed for food, either from the dairy industry or directly for like steaks and what have you. The byproducts are the bones typically. Most people don't want the bones, and so you end up with a ton of bones. And what they do is they use the bones and they sell it, and they make byproducts out of it. So they make bone char, and then they use that as various like filtering agents and things like that. So, for example, white sugar is oftentimes not vegan because they use bone char to do the filtering of the sugar and like the bleaching process or whatever. And I don't know exactly how it works, but I remember there was a video about this from Bite Size Vegan where Emily talks about this in detail. So anyway, my point is this. You're not buying the sugar thinking like, oh yeah, I want to kill some cows to get the sugar. It's like, no, you could totally get the sugar without the cows. The reason why they're using it is because it's a cheap byproduct that the industry has a waste, and they are even making money on the waste. This is the same thing about manure. Like these, people that comment on my videos and try to tell me that like, oh, you can't grow vegetables without manure, and what are you going to do because you're not going to have enough manure if everybody goes vegan? That's totally false. We have too much manure from animals. It's not that it's valuable in and of itself. It's just there's so much of it that like they still try to make money off of that too. But as it is, there's so much that they can't even sell, that they can't even use, that it just goes into the waterways, and that's why we have all these like dead zones and runoff pollution and fish kills and all this stuff. So the bone char is like, if you didn't have the dairy industry, if you didn't have the cattle industry, you would not have the bone char being used to like process sugar. They would figure out some other way to bleach it or whiten it or whatever, and this is just, it's a gross like logical fallacy. You wouldn't be killing cows or other animals to get bone char to do it. You would just figure out some other way to do it that would be, I'm sure there's other ways to do it now. The point is that it's cheaper to do it like this because it's a waste product for that industry, and they're able to sell it at like virtually free prices. So that's kind of why a lot of these things happen, and that's why you get these little byproducts and all sorts of things. So long story short, that accounts for the for this idea of like why there's little things in things that are kind of like unintended. The other end of the spectrum is when people start arguing about, well, what happens if the world goes vegan overnight? And again, this is kind of a logical fallacy as well, because you're sort of arguing a hypothetical scenario that is just, in all likelihood, never ever going to happen. Most people just realize and know that this is just a complete, crazy notion. It will not happen. And the point is that a lot of times people are trolling with this, I think, because they know that it won't happen, but they're just playing the devil's advocate kind of to make a point. But let's engage with the devil here and just say, okay, fine, the world goes vegan overnight. Well, show me a world where there are 8 billion compassionate people who choose not to commit unnecessary violence against beautiful sentient beings anymore. And I can definitely show you a world where there will be enough people to donate their time and effort and money and resources to make that world be possible and have a gradual, dying off of those animals, because, the point is that they're being artificially bred to these numbers. They will not sustain those numbers by themselves. They will not overrun the world. There aren't even that many breeding animals there. It is just simply happening because people are artificially breeding them. So it's nothing to worry about, and it's just simply another kind of like trolling, logical fallacy, kind of like pointless hypothetical argument that people get into. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I realize this got kind of long, but hopefully it's not too rambling. I'm always a little bit lightheaded after training. But hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know, and I can do some more videos that are more detailed or less kind of rambling about these topics. I think, shout out to Jacko Wacko. He had a pretty good video about this, what if the world goes vegan overnight? And I think that's an interesting watch. I'll probably link that at the end. And I'm looking forward. We should be hopefully doing a collaboration video soon as well. I got to get some work on that. It's been really busy, but I'll try to get that done. And hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. And thanks to everybody for subscribing. Got a bunch of new people signed up. Really appreciate everybody doing that, and engaging in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about these topics, and also if you've got kind of answers to these kind of annoying kind of trolling type things. Let me know. All right, see you guys. Bye.